all country fell into darkness. So we really appreciate your will to learn something new. So my name is Paulo Fatula, and I'm working in QMO as competence manager of a software engineering test competency. As we may have some participants not from SoftServe, I just want to say that QMO stands for Quality Management Office, what basically means in test a center of excellence at the SoftServe. So today we have a chance to sneak peek how Atlassian approaching the quality, what challenges do they have, and how they manage to solve them. All of that we would heard from principal test engineer Alexander Tkachenko, who are working at Atlassian for the last 7 years. But before we start, I would like to set up the ground rules. So please be sure that you're safe. Safety is the first priority. So this meeting will be recorded, and you will get the recording after the end of this session. Also, please mute yourself, as it's really helps speaker to focus on slides and not be distracted. And we would like to ask you to put your real names into the Zoom and not your nicknames. And if it is possible, please turn on your cameras. It would be nice to see your faces, right? And of course, like, put your questions to the chat, or if you would like to ask them by the voice, you can do this in the end of the presentation. So Alex, tell us please a couple words about yourself and what we would heard on today's presentation.
Yep, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexander. You can also call me Alex. As Paulo mentioned, I'm working with Atlassian for around 7 years. I was working with various products. Currently, I'm in Jira DC team, like the DC stands for data center. Before, I was working with Bamboo and Ficru as well. At the same time, I'm a member of Atlassian quality engineering team, and we're working with all data center products like Confluence, Bitbucket, Jira Service Management, and so on. But maybe I'll tell a bit more about it in a second. So let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you can see slides.
Yep, yeah. We do.
Yeah, awesome. So today we'll talk a bit about our Atlassian approach to quality, and in general about shift left movement, like what is it and why it's important, and quality engineering role in Atlassian and how we approach that. I'll try to fit like up to 1 hour. As Paulo said, we will have Q&A session, section at the end. I will go through the agenda in a moment. If you will have any questions on the go, so please write down them in chat, and we will start from them, right, on the Q&A session. And as well, we will have like 3 slides with Paul, like where there will be questions for you, like to guess or to answer, like of your knowledge. So there will be some interactive aspect here as well. So okay, what we will be talking today about? First one, I'll try to give you like a short intro and set the ground, like what we are going to talk about. Then I'll give you an overview of quality assistant concept, like what is it, how it appeared, and how we are using that. As well, we will go through who are QEs, like quality engineers in Atlassian, and what they are doing actually. As well, we will go through our quality process, how we are approaching like development and creation of features and functionality. Yeah, there are some challenges of such approach, and we will talk about them as well. And as I said, at the end will be Q&A session. So let's start from the brief introduction, like how this approach came up, right? Like how Atlassian started to think about something like own approach to quality. So in general, like when we have regular, like classical waterfall, so there are like few stages, right? So we have development, then when it's done, testing is started, and then in the meantime, like when testers like reporting bugs, so dev teams at the same time starting to bug fix, and then should be the release, right? In reality, in the most cases, I was there on such project when it was like that. So release time was in the middle of testing due to time constraints, and we need to take some trade-offs, like should we release with the bugs or should we wait, and so on. But in the worst case, like when development is too late, you can end up in the situation when like you need to release now and you haven't tested anything, so you just got code from dev teams. So when it comes to agile, it's a bit like different approach, right? So in theory, like development, bug fix, and testing should happen like in the short loops at the same time, and we should approach and release and then release, right? In reality, it happens though, first there is some development, we're starting testing what's being developed, and then bugs appeared, and then bug fix, and we're releasing. But as you know, like in real life, very frequently, like release time is pushing us, and we need to take compromises again. And what's important in those two examples as well, so that testing and development is very split, right? So it's split like in different teams, in different maybe parts of organization and different streams of work. So what if developers could test their own work, right? And once development is done, so we may release it, and we shouldn't wait for another external team which should test it for you or give you feedback, and all that feedback loop is removed. So we'll talk about it later in a moment, but that's actually the concept, right? To join everything into one stream and treat everything as development, and it should be done like by the same group of people, by development teams. A little bit of wording, like so QA versus QA. So quality assurance, like classical meaning of that is like testing, when we have development, testing, bug fix, and there are like those split of responsibilities, as I said. And our concept is like quality assistance. So it's like coaching developers on testing. So not splitting testing from development and doing all together by the same group of people. So this approach is not new. It's not like something we're experimenting with. So it's already like 9 to 10 years already, and it's constantly changing. So what I will be showing to you later, so it wasn't like that at the very beginning. It's changing in time. We are dropping some activities, adding some new, we're experimenting, and it's a live process, right? So because world around us is changing, our products are changing, competitors are changing, tools are changing, so we need to adapt. So we are adapting the process as well. But at least for now, you will see how it looks like. Another important thing, so this particular process that I will be showing today, we are heavily using in our data center enterprise product. So where we are working with the biggest clients, we are pushing on quality, on stability, and this data center business means that we are releasing binaries to them, so software which are deploying on their premises, so we have no control over it. So it's a bit different from the cloud world, right, when you can easily fix the bug. So once we release a bug, it's there, and it's very expensive for us like to fix it later, and it's very painful for clients. Yeah, and this one is about wording, right? So QEs instead of QA. So in all following slides, you will see, and I will be talking about QEs, like it's about quality engineering, and this term appeared due to our probably organizational structure, because we are not separate unit, like a quality department, whatever, we are part of engineering. So we are part of development teams. Yeah, so let's talk about quality assistance a bit, and shift left, and what is all about. So when we are looking on classical life cycle of software development, so right, so it started from the very left, from analysis, goes to design, development, then testing, then we deploy it, either clients deploy it or we deploy it to cloud, and then there is some maintenance, right? So either bug fix or maintenance of the system, whatever. And when we are talking about shift left, so the main idea is to move like this guy, this testing, and everything like what relates to quality as much to the left as we can, right? So not to start here, but to start here. And that's the main idea behind the like shift left approach. So we are moving on this timeline to the left. In cloud, products in modern like startups, small businesses, there is like shift right approach. So you deliver fast, you fix fast, react fast, but there are like pluses and minuses here. But today we will be talking about shift left, right? So why shift left? Why it may be important, like who invented it, like what are the reasons? And now we have time for the first Zoom poll. So if anyone can spin it, I will be grateful.
Have it started yet?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so please let me know once we'll have some result and we may go on.
It's almost all participated, 76%. Are we waiting till all of us participated in this poll?
I'm not sure. I think maybe someone is like from mobile. It's not convenient to
yeah,
pick. So if we'll have like 75 plus, it's okay.
It's almost 80, 79%. So I guess.
So like 10 seconds and let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everyone right can see the results. So there were like few options like to answer. So the reason of shifting left is like reducing cost, like higher efficiency of development, higher quality, like all of the above. And I don't know. So let's figure out. Thanks for answers. Actually, the correct one was all of the above. And let's go one by one. So the first benefit of shifting left in your development process is like reduced cost. So the earlier you find bug, the cheaper it is, right? So there is a very big difference if you, as a developer, find your bug before pushing it to master, let's say, or it's already found by client and reported to you as a bug. So there is extreme difference between those two. And like another benefit, it's due to the bugs are found earlier and you're fixing them earlier. So you have less bugs on late stages, like on production, on staging, whatever. So you'll have less reports from clients, right? So less complaints, less incidents, and like perspective of your product is better. So it's of higher quality. Higher efficiency. Here, due to the fact that you're moving more to the left, it means you wanted to have a faster feedback, right, from the code changes you are doing. So first of all, you're investing heavily in automated tests, and it allows you to run those tests more frequently to avoid those manual regressions and waiting and so on. So you're receiving feedback faster and quicker, right? So you're not waiting. So this time is, you can invest the time in something better. And another benefit is for your actually quality team, testers, whatever, QAs, whatever you call them. So instead of retesting the stuff, checking bugs, helping dev teams to investigate those, they may focus on other tasks. And we will talk about like what those other tasks may be. Yeah, and for sure you have higher quality. Sorry, that pop up again, that poll. Yeah, so we have less human errors due to automation, different tooling linked to, and actually finding those bugs early, even on design stage, right? So you don't even letting those bugs to appear. So less human errors and less issues reaching the production, right? So as the same as in the reduced cost, like so here is like win-win. Okay, So what are the principles like of quality assistance? So there are like few of them, like five or six, and we will go through them one by one. So the first one is very important, that quality is owned by the whole team. So it's not only responsibility of QA team or testers to ensure, like assure, right, the quality assurance. So assure that there are no bugs, that product is of a high quality and so on. So it is also responsibility of PM, of designers, of every developer who is writing code and adding tests. And like it's need to be accepted by everyone within the company and within the team. Another one here is that quality is built into the product, right? So you're not only testing well and fighting bugs well, but also you are trying to add, let's say, features to your product, which will increase like testability, stability, self-healing stuff, extended logs, health checks, and all the things which will help like support engineers to react faster, will help devs to write better tests, will allow customers to solve their problems by themselves and diagnose those problems by themselves. So it is a very important aspect. So we are not thinking about quality as testing purely, but we are thinking how we may improve our product to help actually people to test it and to ensure that quality is good, like no problems with the product. Third one is pushing on prevention instead of detection. So as I already said, it's much cheaper to find bug at the development stage when code is written, when you're only planning some feature or changes or whatever, then do it when it is already released and clients already faced it. So we're trying like doing that approach and following all those activities we'll be talking like in a minute. So we are focusing on preventive problems instead of detecting them and reacting on those. Another important aspect here, which was very important in Atlassian for some time, it's about scaling. So it appeared when there was a period of time when our organization was growing quickly. So we were hiring, we were creating new dev teams, and there was a problem when you are having a QA team, which is doing testing. So if you are rapidly growing development, so you are, let's say, growing from 3 teams to 10, right? So you've got investment, you can hire more people. So you now have 10 dev teams, and they're starting to writing code, to doing features and so on. So you need to grow that quality assurance team along with them, because the existing one won't handle to test so much code, so much changes. And it was and at this point of time, that team of testers becoming a bottleneck, right, in the organization. So this approach, when everyone is responsible for quality and everyone is responsible for writing testing and thinking about how to avoid bugs, problems, and so on, allows you to scale almost to infinity. But those QEs are still needed, but you can work around that, right? And we will be talking about it a bit as well. Yeah, another thing is a culture, right? And it's probably the most important one. So as I said, that everyone in a team and in an organization should accept the fact that now everyone is responsible for quality, not only testers, and they are not guardians of tests and quality. So this shift, like cultural shift, must happen, right? So everyone in an organization should be okay for that. It should be supportive from management, and only then this approach will be successful. And when you have the momentum of this culture, when you have like, I don't know, like 100 to 200 developers with this mindset, and you are throwing like 10 more, 30 more to them, it's very easy to scale because this culture is spreading across them. So summing it up a bit, so where this approach of quality assistance and shift left may be a good choice. So it's a good choice when you require to have a high level of quality in your product, right? When prevention instead of detection, like when preventing bugs is more important for you than moving faster. As I said, in data center business, when we are releasing product and clients are installing that product on their own infrastructure, it's extremely costly for us to fix the problems that we already released and they install it on their own, right? So we have no access to the environment to fix that, to diagnose that. So that's why we are so heavily pushing on prevention. Where you need to ability to scale teams fast, right? To grow your organization, to switch people between teams, like change directions where they're moving and so on. And it's a good choice for product companies when you can easily push on that culture, on that approach, and so on. When it may be challenging for, I would call it compliance industries, right? It's like healthcare project, finance, like some government organizations where you need to like follow some formalities, right? So when in some healthcare project, there are like, you know, even printouts with test results where you need to sign it off and submit it, and it will be stored for 5 years and so on. So where such agile approach may not be a case. So when you need to follow some regulations, laws, and so on. As I said, on rapidly changing cloud products, right? When you have an advantage of moving fast, releasing fast, fixing fast, rolling back fast, and so on. So when you may allow yourself to use your clients a bit as a testers, right? To test a bit on your clients. When it comes to enterprise level products, is not the case really. So we're not trying to do that because clients' expectations that everything is already tested, right? And yeah, it will be very challenging for companies where there is strict separation of developers and QAs. And sometimes there are companies where you have only developers and QAs are somewhere externally, right? They're located externally. And building that approach will be definitely challenging, but not impossible, right? I would say like that. So let's slowly move to quality engineers, right? Who are those guys? What is the difference between like classical model and what is it about? So first main thing of quality engineers is that like we are embedded into dev teams. So every product like either Jira, Bumble, Confluence, there are like multiple dev teams, and every dev team has like a project manager, like set of developers, a team lead, dev team lead, a designer attached to it, and quality engineer, right? So each of us is attached to some dev team, which is doing some part of a product, of work, some like bug fix, features, whatever. At the same time, we are part of the quality engineering team. So this is a bit tricky because you're like sitting in two chairs at the same time, right? So we're building a quality engineering team, and there are like multiple QEs there, which are located in multiple products, in multiple teams. And we are operating on this cross-team, cross-product level where we are exchanging problems, approaches, tooling we are using, best solutions. In that way, we are kind of a layer of communication, of knowledge sharing between those products. And we are trying to align in some degree to company standards. So if we're seeing that some product is performing worse than another, or for example, if one product solved an issue in an excellent way, so we are just cloning that solution to others. So yeah, that's a different, right? So at the same time, we are a part of a small group of developers who are working on something smaller in particular part, and at the same time, we are working on a bit higher level. Yeah, another Zoom poll. So please guess how many QEs are per developer, like in average, let's say in our organization.
Well, this pool is very active. Well, like we get 85% for now.
Yeah. Okay, so we have like 30% 1 QE per 2 devs, 45% 1 per 5, 60% 1 per 10, 4% 1 per 20, and 4% have no idea. Okay, so the answer is around roughly 1 per 10. So it's mean around one QE per development team, maybe one per 1.5 development team. How is it possible? We'll talk in a minute as well about it. What else about QE? So very important fact that testing is not our direct responsibility. So no one in an organization expects us to be the only person in a team who will be do tests, right? Who will be doing any testing and so on. It doesn't mean that we are not doing that. We are doing that, but it is a shared aspect, right? So yes, sometimes we are helping when there are releases or like incidents, critical bugs, or developers simply need help, right? So they're saying, I cannot reproduce this problem, help me. Yes, we're helping, but we are not that single last minute team of folks who will do all the tests, right? Yeah, so what actually we are doing, and I tried to split all our work into 3 pillars, and now we will go like one by one, right? So first pillar is like dev education. So we are helping and teaching developers to become a better testers, right? To build that quality mindset, because what we observe that what is the difference between developer and QA, right? Like obviously the ability to write like high quality code, like and the amount of code it's essential, but QAs have that quality mindset, right? The ability to find bugs, to easily reproduce them, you know, to spot it in a minute. And we are trying to teach them, and it is a skill, right? It's possible to teach the person to do that if the person is willing. So, and this stream is about that. So what's inside the dev education pillar, right? So as I said, we are trying to help with building that quality mindset. And the first tool for that is like doing risks analysis together with developer, like on feature to feature, on their like task to task. So we are spiking together what can go wrong, what are techniques, how to work, how to approach those things, right? And doing that together with them is very increasing their testing ability and that quality mindset. So the next time, like after some time working together, they are starting to do them by themselves. So they're spotting those bugs even before they start writing code, right? So another thing is how to test, tools, approaches, like testing techniques and so on. Like it's interesting thing that for QAs, it's maybe something obvious, right? But it appears that not for all developers, it's easy to sit down and write like 20 test cases for his feature, right? Which he's working on or she is working on. Another thing here is like sharing product knowledge. Due to the fact that we are working across teams and across products, like we can share and we can have a better knowledge of how product works, what are the interactions between features and so on. And we can share it with developers as well during those pairings and those activities. Yeah, we're getting to that through the process. What we call it is quality kickoffs, quality demos, and blitzes, and we will be looking at that in details in the following section of the presentation. Yeah, and one more thing is we are organizing from time to time workshops, trainings related to different types of testings, like decomposition, like exploratory testing workshops, performance testing workshops, like some security basic testing and so on. So yeah, it's a part of our role to organize such trainings, invite developers, teach them, and in that way, like empower them to use it in their daily work. Second stream here is dev support. So this is more technical, right? Because this first one was more like communication with and sharing knowledge, and here is about helping test faster, better by creating tools, environment, test data, and let's look what's inside, right? So first thing is like creating different testing tools, scripts, and frameworks. So we are working in a model that if we are seeing that there is, for example, lack of some layer of integration test, right? So we are, as QE, we are stepping in, we are creating a framework so you can start writing tests, but at that moment of time, we are stopping, and then tests are added by developers by their doing like their feature work or writing code, right? So, and then we are switching to some other thing. As well, as part of our responsibility, like we introduce like test coverage tools, like pull request scanners, like inline code coverage in divs, different lean terms, and so on. So it's kind of our responsibility to take care of it, to spread the tooling across developers, to keep the standards high, right? So to be sure that everyone is writing code of a high quality. Yeah, as well, we are working on test environments. It can be different types of those. It may be like, browser specific, database specific, or amount of users and so on here. So even operation systems, if your product support that. Yeah, and we're working on tooling around managing those environments, right? Because you can create a single one, or you can create a tool, which we actually did, which can spin it like in 10 minutes for any dev, and then you are not needed anymore on working on such tasks. Data sets, it's pretty important part of testing, and our expertise is needed here. So we're working on creation of data sets, and which more important on data generators, which are opening doors for developers to create their own data sets, right? Not involving us into that. Yeah, and actually anything that may speed up development. So if you're working with a team and you're noticing that they're spending too much time on testing locally, so you can think like, how can you speed it up? So, okay, maybe creation of some bash scripts or some pre-baked environment, some Docker images, whatever, which can help them to not to waste time on routine, but focus on writing code and on quality, right, on testing. Third pillar is actually the quality assistance, right? So it's that aspect of it that we are trying to look on the whole product and to look a bit higher of our team to like cross-product communication. So what we are doing, we are tracking those quality activities, which we will be talking in the following section about those kickoffs, blitzes, and demos that I mentioned. As well, we are running quality health monitors. It's like periodic activity where we are gathering teams, and we are going through all like a list of quality attributes, which team is assessing itself. So how we are doing with writing tests, how we are with doing good code reviews, what's about bugs coming from our work? Is it like high amount or low amount? Are we happy how our code reviews look like? Is our CI healthy, and so on? And we are doing that regularly. We are measuring like the health of those attributes, and we are initiating actions, right? So, okay, so we are observing that, let's say, the CI aspect is degrading. Teams are spending too much time on rerunning tests, or tests are constantly red. So we need to invest into that and make it green, right? And this is the first part of it. Second thing, like we are not working only with developers, right? Another counterparty is like product owners and like higher management, and that group of people is mostly interested in metrics and how we are doing, like, are customers happy or not? What is the bug rate? Are we degrading or are we improving, and so on? So our role here is to define those metrics we would like to observe and track, and actually tracking those, raising red flags to teams if something is wrong, and like initiating actions and acting on those to improve those metrics, right? So it's a bit, let's say, driving the change role. So if you're as QE noticing that something is bad, or we are performing bad in certain metric, it's kind of expected from you that you will initiate the whole process of improvement. Another important thing here is defect analysis. So we are looking like how many bugs we're having, what are the trends inside those bugs, are there early opens, what components of the application or a product are more weak and we need to invest to, what are strong, where a situation improved, and we are like keeping an eye on that. So we're helping product and developers to understand where we need to focus our effort, what should be the next part or piece of the roadmap, right? Another important thing is like support analysis. So for majority of our products, we have support engineers who are supporting those, and we are doing reviews of those support cases where clients reaching to us saying that something is not working, they are facing bugs. So we are trying to understand root causes of that. If there are like severe issues there, like incidents, we are running post-incident reviews, and we are learning from those mistakes, and we are looking for any trends, and again, raising red flags and reporting that to teams. Yeah, as I said, we're working heavily on preventive strategies, especially if incident happen, escalation from the client. So we are gathering people who were involved into that, finding the root cause, defining preventing actions, and ensuring that this problem won't happen anymore in the future, right? Yeah, and process stuff. So as I said, we are there as we are in those teams a bit like as an external observer. So if we are seeing that some process are not working or missing, so it's again kind of expected from us that we will raise that with a team lead, for example, and say, okay, listen, your team is not doing proper code reviews like other teams are doing. We need to improve that, right? So this process aspect is in game. Yeah, and this last point is for us mostly. So as I said at the very beginning, so this process we are having is in certain shape now, and depending on like the outer world, clients, product, technologies used, and so on, we need to adjust it. So it's on us not to sit on the same process for years and doing like some needless things. So we are trying to be like, let's say, agile here, right? Yeah, to sum it up, so three main pillars of the quality engineering. So dev education, so teaching developers how to become better testers, use whatever tools you can, like workshops, pairing, explaining, or sending them articles, whatever, like doing tests together with them. Dev support, it's about creating toolings, environments, scripts, data, whenever it comes to technology, right? Like code coverage, code health, and so on. And quality assistance is about like, metrics, bugs, processes, quality of the product in general. So yeah, so this is a good summary, right? So QE in Atlassian, what we do is like train and mentor. We're doing risk assessment, we're building tools, we are communicating on cross-team level to people. We are doing like quality projects, like QA specific. We are often acting as reviewers of changes of project plans, of specifications, and so on. And in case of any incidents, problems, we are organizing like battle plans, right? So we're saying, okay, if the team is fixing that, we will prepare environments, and then we will verify, and those results we will share with client and so on. And what we are not doing like explicitly is like only testing, right? So instead of only testing, we're doing all that big variety of things. And that's interesting. What's like the ultimate goal of QE, like of quality engineering at Atlassian? So here you can see like two teams, right? So two development teams, and there is a quality engineer is one of them. So the ultimate goal of that guy is become redundant and move on, right, to another team. So ultimate goal of QE is to train the team you're working with so well, so each of them was so good in testing and in thinking about quality, so you will become like not needed, right? So they can do a great job without you. So instead of having you there, you're living that mindset, tooling, processes that helps them to work, and you're shifting to another team, for example, newly formed team, a team who has no quality engineer, and then you're doing your work there. There may be a case that you will jump back, but yeah, that's the funny thing in our role. So like your end goal is to make yourself to be not needed in this team, right? And it's cool and sad at the same time, because at any point of time you need to switch to another team, right? Yeah, just to give you like some hints, I prepared like a short list, like on each of those streams of quality assistance, right? Of that education, tooling, and quality assistance, like what I was working on like in last, I don't know, 6 months roughly. So in the dev education stream, so first of all was we were expecting a big wave of newcomers, and there was a need of creation of training videos on quality processes, on tooling, how to use like our CI, environment management system, like code coverage stuff, and so on. So we as QE stepped in and created a set of videos like to share that knowledge, right, with those new people. Another thing here is that testing of feature in Jira, it appears that there was a feature in Jira that no one knows how to test it, right? So here as well, there was an ask to step in, to understand the feature, understand the code, test it, and create the how-to for other teams so they can use it in the future, and like there will be no that gap anymore. So there was like as I said, testing that we are doing from time to time, but there was in this knowledge sharing aspect, so there was a requirement to create how-to, right, for them. Yeah, and doing that, I was working as well on the creation of that portal, which aggregates all those how-tos, because it appears that people are writing those how-tos for themselves, right? So someone, I don't know, how to spin like Postgres in Docker quick, right? And someone created like a page on Confluence in his own space. And yeah, I created a page which aggregates all that stuff. When it comes to dev support, first one was like adding automatic result judgment for performance tests. So we have performance tests which are run in clustered environment where there are like multiple nodes of products which are under high load. And there were always issues to understand, like, are those tests okay, like results? Yeah, I mean the results. So can we release with those results or not? So, and every time it requires manual step from a developer to download all those reports, go through them, understand them. So yeah, so I was adding that automatic judgment. So like it was saying you just after the finish, is it okay or not? Another thing is data set as a code, a data generator. Another tool for measuring health of the CI. So it was grabbing all statistics from CI plans and giving you like success rates, like a test count and so on. Yeah, another great example, but it's with an asterisk. So it was created earlier, not in the last 6 months, but it's a good example. It was tool for spinning test environment with pre-installed data sets like in a minute. So it was a great save of time for the teams. Yeah, and from perspective of quality assistance, creation of a testing plan and coordination of multiple teams when it comes to the recent long-term support release of Jira. There was also an ask from a product managers to define a bottlenecks in performance of Jira, right? So they say, tell us what are the weak places that we should work on, right? And it actually is quality assistance part when you're doing a research and giving like assessing risks and proposing like mitigation plan for that. Yeah, and another thing is like monitoring of our internal instances, because we are using our products internally, and if something goes wrong there, we are reporting that to dev teams directly to react on issues faster, right? Yeah, so we have like 15 minutes more, so I'll try to speed up a bit. Let's switch to Atlassian quality process, right? So in general, it's from planning stage to done. There are like few key actions that every developer is doing, and we are participating in those steps. So let's go from the very beginning, right? So let's say we are planning new release. There is a planning stage when we have some features we would like to work, and let's say feature A is assigned to your team, and developer is taking tasks. So, okay, I'll be working on this part of the feature. So at this point of time, when there is planning is done and it's roughly known what's needed to be done, and there are already tasks for devs is picking, and we are doing quality kickoff. So what's it about? So usually it's paired activity. So when quality engineer is paired with developer, it's what's important here is before the development, right? So before writing code, we're sitting together and we are trying to understand like what this feature is about, and we are doing that decomposition and heuristics mapping, and I'll show you like quality cards in a second. So we're trying to decompose the feature into components, to roles, into different levels, and try to put different potential risks on it and to understand like how it may broke, like what can go wrong. What if, let's say, will be too many connections here, or users will create too many entities here? What will happen, right? So, and as I said, very important is before the development. So developer is not sitting and writing some code, you know, some mocks and whatever. So first we're sitting and thinking like how it may go wrong, what may break. So we're discussing risks and test ideas and what can be wrong with it. We are also defining what to test manually, what automated test we need to add, or maybe change existing. So we're reviewing like if it's change of existing functionality, what is already there, what's the coverage, where are gaps in that coverage, and so on. And we're doing testing notes. Yeah, so those are quality cards. It's actually our at the times like pre-COVID times, there were like paper ones. When COVID appeared and everyone started to work like remotely, we created a digital version of it. So there are like some decks for different type of activities, and it looks like that. So you click on a card, and it suggests you to ask yourself questions, right? Like, why are you doing that feature? Who will be like which role will be working with it? Where in system it will happen? Like in which moment of time, and so on. Like how will supportability? What will put a lot of stress and security? And you just saw here there are 26 of those cards. So that developer, before writing code, he think about like at least 26 aspects of that feature when he already knows more or less how it will work, right? And artifact outcome of that meeting, of that kickoff, testing notes. So testing notes, we are usually putting there known issues. So what we already know that is not working now, existing bugs, whatever. Unknown. So there are like a lot of open questions usually on such activities. We're discussing some potential risks as well. So what can go wrong is that we know that it was to be tested, right? What dependencies maybe there are like some integration with another team, with another product. We need to test, we need to talk with them, right? Which wasn't obvious at the very beginning. And obviously there should be a section there with the description, like how we will test it and on which levels we will test it. And what's more important, all those notes should be like more or less actionable, right? So developer after this kickoff, yes, at least a rough plan of things. Okay, I know this is not working right now, so I need to keep that in mind. Oh, those unknowns, I need to clarify those before I will start writing code. I need answers first. Okay, this potential risk, I need probably be aware of that, and I will need to include that into testing. Okay, we have no dependencies, and I will need to test it manually this, and I will need to write that amount of automated test, right? After that, actually development started. So sometimes it may be a case that this kickoff is for a group of people, right? So when there are like 3 developers working on the same feature, so it can be combined. So we need to be flexible here. So implementation happens, and there is a time when you are not in touch with those devs. So you are simply like waiting for them while they're writing code, testing internally, writing some tests, and so on. There is activity which is not a must-have now, but it was a thing in the past, and I intentionally left it here. So it's called developer and test, or like it was called DOT. So idea here was when developer finished his feature and more or less tested it, and let's say is ready to show it to someone, there is another, his colleague, who will spend like 30 minutes to hour just testing his feature. In some teams, it is the thing. In the majority, there's jumping directly to quality demo. And why we're skipping that in some teams, that it's pretty interesting, like cultural and psychological thing here, that if developer has a sense of that someone will test it for me, like then developer feels more relaxed, right? So, okay, I may not check all the stuff, so there will be like that guy who will double. It's like with testers, right? With QAs. So they're writing code and saying, okay, there will be QA team who will find all my bugs. And if you have known this step, the all responsibilities on you, and you are more motivated to test better and to be a better tester, right? Because no one will test it for you. Yeah. After that, when implementation is done, so developer finished code, write some tests, do some tests internally, and it's pretty much ready to be merged. There is a quality demo. What is quality demo? Important thing here, it's not a testing session. So at this moment, the developer should have should be sure that it's already good. Here we're explaining what was done. A bit showing it. If it's UI, we may click over it just to show how it works, some basic features. We are reviewing testing notes from kickoff. if all actions were actioned, if like all tests were done. We may look to the pull request briefly if there are any reviewers' comments and any notes, any other things that pop up during the development. Briefly discussing code changes. And what's important here, so here, first it was activity dev with QE, right? So tester like with developer, but what we noticed, and that started to be adopted in more and more teams, so we started to invite other devs to demos, and it's helped them to be on top of what's happening like in their team. And it was a great knowledge sharing aspect. And on quality demos, you may have good comments from other devs. Yeah, so we're reviewing tests and automated tests and what was tested manually, what were results, were any problems, and so on. And there is the final feedback from the crew, like if there is more people than 2 of you, right? Yeah, and it's very important as well. So we're treating stories done when like there was a design created for it, code was written, tests were added and executed when the documentation was added. And analytics, if your product has that, because in our product, we're adding those analytics to be able to see how it works in production. Yeah, and for quality demo, we have as well deck of those digital cards. And here there are only 6 of those with like high level steps, right? Like explain, show, discuss risks, show your code, discuss testing, some final thoughts, right? And each card contains some set of suggested question sections that you need to go through during that quality demo. Yeah, so after quality demo, when every developer completes his part of a feature and feature is ready, so after multiple quality demos, let's say, we're doing something called blitz test. So what is it about? So usually the whole team participated in that, and we are pairing. So developers are paired, and I'm jumping into some pair. So we are usually doing like exploratory testing. So there are no strict tests to be executed there. So we are just trying to test maybe corner cases or some ideas that pop up in our mind before. If it's front-end changes like user-facing feature, not back-end one, so we may spend more time on trying different non-typical browsers or like playing with different devices, whatever. Yeah, so as well we may try it in different operation systems like databases and so on. And important thing here is as well during those pairing and rotation and cooperating, like testing as a team, it's again a great knowledge sharing bonus, right? And it shouldn't be long, like 1-2 hours max, right? After that, it's not applicable to all companies, but luckily we are using all our products internally, right? So we are building our product on Bamboo, we are using Jira, we're using Confluence, we're using Bitbucket, and for all those like our internal systems, we are using non-released versions, right? So usually it looks like there is a merge to master, and like 4 times a day it is deployed to our internal instances. So we have an advantage of testing our products by us before they're releasing to client. And this is an important step in our quality process. Yes, and own products, as I said, unreleased version, frequent rollout. And here there is an interesting thing that we have public bug tracker, right? So Jira Atlassian.com, so where you can report all bugs to us, client-facing bugs, but as well we have internal tracker for bugs that are not released yet, right? And after that, merge happens, like if dogfooding was the case, merge was before dogfooding, if not, then merge, and we're treating stories done. And then everything repeats, right? So, and we as quality engineers are working, we are watching that process was actioned by the team, and we are pairing with those devs in working day to day on those activities, kickoffs, demos, blitzes, and we are helping them to test, helping them with tooling during all those steps in the process, right? Yes. What are the challenges of that approach? Yes, because it may sound like too great that you have no bugs and so on, but it's not true. So there is no silver bullet in this world, unfortunately, and there are some challenges here. So first one is the culture, and it's a big chunk of our work to ensure that that culture exists, that it's spread on the new teams, on newcomers, especially when people are joining like from different companies, from different backgrounds. So we need always watch that culture of quality is everyone's responsibility and so on. This one I call like Schrodinger's testing, because it's hard to coach testing and not to test every day at the same time, right? So you need to have a very strong testing background, either you need to keep that testing muscle by yourself, right? So and you will join those testing activities from time to time just to keep the momentum, not to forget how to do it, right? Another like challenge here is like tech skills. So here is pretty much required to be like strongly in tech and coding, just to be able to speak with devs on their language, on their level, because usually when you're talking with dev, the first thing they're doing, they're showing you the code, right, and pull request and whatever. So you need to be capable to quickly jump into it, at least read it, understand, and be able to show them what's wrong. Another aspect here is like soft skill, right? So those tooling and code is a cool stuff, but when you're working with teams, with people pairing on those activities, not everyone is willing like to test a lot. So we need to convince them, and it requires that skill, like, you know, to cooperate with people and yeah, and let's say soft skills, right? So there is a term in the industry called like that. Yeah, another important thing here is the context switching, because as you've seen, there are like 3 pillars, and within those 3 pillars, there are like multiple entities, and you need to be capable to jump from one to another, right? So, okay, today I'm doing kickoff with 1, 2, 3 devs, then they will be working on a few days on their code. So I have free time. So now I will work on a Docker image for them to spin up tests quickly, right? So then while we're working on that, someone told you, okay, let's do quality demo. Okay, you need to jump to quality demo and then jump back to the Docker image, right? So, and there is, and then someone asks you, okay, what's with metrics, right? And then you need to jump to metrics review. And it's sometimes complicated enough, right? Yeah, another thing here is documentation. Maybe you noticed that I haven't mentioned test management like anywhere. So actually, we are not having classical test management system. We are not documenting tests and test plans, whatever. So our tests are mostly living in code. So we rely heavily on automated tests and tooling, and everything is in code. So for sure, we have some high-level testing plans, risks management sessions, and so on, but there is no thorough documentation with every test, with every step, and so on. And it is challenging, right? Both for people, for some of them, like, and for QAs as well. Yeah, and as I said, bugs will be still there. So doing all that awesome stuff will not save you 100% from not having bugs, right? So there are bugs in all our products. They're reaching clients anyway, but as I said, we are always evolving, right? So we are learning from our bugs. We are trying to reduce their amount. We are trying to close some group of bugs, and it's the constant process. So a quick summary, like a minute or two. So we were talking about shift left today, about moving your testing and approach to quality as much to the left as you can in development lifecycle. Culture is very important, and shared quality responsibility is very important as well in this approach. 3 main pillars of quality engineering, right? So dev education, dev support, and quality assistance. So helping them to become better developers, tooling, and all about technology, and high-level, product-level stuff like processes, metrics, analysis, reports, and so on. Yeah, our process, actually this one, I believe it's even publicly available. So if you can Google like Atlassian quality process, you will find that image. And important here is a constant practice, right? So we always join in those activities which are marked by arrows. And as an outcome, what we're observing and why we are using that for 9 years already. So first one is a culture in company, right? So everyone, every developer, every team member is quality oriented, and you can easily put a person from one stream to another, from one work to another, and then you will have like assured that there will be person with quality in mind, right? Quality is speed, so fast development and minimum of rework. So comparing like to my previous experience, companies where I was working in projects. So here I would say we have pretty much zero reopens on public bugs, which was surprising first for me, but that prevention aspect really works. Scalability. So as I said, you can easily scale teams, reshuffle them, change size, grow amount of people and so on. Yeah, and obviously less bugs. Okay, it's time for questions, I think. And there are like 2 questions on the chat. Okay, so there are no questions. So there are like messages that people are leaving. Okay, could you please share a couple of more popular instruments you or your company using for shift left or your own generated? I'm not sure. Will there any possibility, maybe question to Pavlo, if I can share any links later as like attachments to that presentation or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. You can share the links and we can share for participants later.
Okay, so I will write it down and I will try to share. It was a question from Ola. Another one. Has the time spent for testing by devs been included in the estimation they do? Does the testing done by dev affect their performance in coding developing? Yeah, good question. Yes, this time is added. So when we are trying to estimate, so everything is estimated. So from start till merge, right, to completing the work. And yes, testing done by devs, it's a bit affects their like amount of code they can produce, but from another hand, they're producing code of better quality because they producing like let's say testable code, right? So they are keeping that in mind, and as an outcome, I would say it improved their performance because due to the fact that they don't doing reworks, which are very costly, the time that they're doing and writing tests is acceptable, right, for us. Is there any other company which use the QE approach you're using? Yeah, a good question. There are companies, maybe not, hopefully, I would say so big as us, but on conferences, and there are people reaching me out directly multiple times. So they are trying to use the shift left and they're trying to use this model. I believe in Poland even, there are companies with such background because we have QEs in our team who were previously kind of working in that model, similar one. But you know, this model, as I said, this model should be flexible. So general approach of shifting left and making devs writing code is like a general concept, but how you approaching that is a company specific, right? So in our reality, we are doing all those activities and we have the dog fooding, for example. Others have no that possibility. But yeah, there are companies that are doing that, and we are, it's not, let's say, mass market, right? So not everyone is doing that, but we are constantly in contact with people who are doing that. We are sharing some ideas and practices, right?
We have a question from Natalia. She raised the hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
hi. Can I ask one more question? It was too
sure.
long to write. So you said that there is a scalability, so many, so new people could be added. My question is, from your experience, what is the best source of truth of, you know, how application works on your mind? Because I know that, you know, the problem comes when we get new people, we had to onboard them. And then for developers, it's a problem also to remember how the application works. So what I see at my project, QC know the project better than devs, and they know more dependencies. But that's because we don't have really clear requirements sometimes in one place. So what would you recommend in this case from your experience?
Okay, so
is it Confluence and there to, you know, save information or something else, how to structure? Because we have received the application which was written already and not documented.
Yeah, so there are like two questions inside. So first one about adding new people. So from what we've noticed, if you're going to add, let's say, hire a new team, right? So it's not good to create a new team and put all the new people there. It's better always to mix that people with that, let's say, my quality mindset and with no quality mindset. When it comes to sharing knowledge, when it comes to your joining new people and they need to ramp up fast, right? So we are practicing something that that called bootcamp projects, right? So how it looks like when a new person joins, like let's say after the first week, they're getting bootcamp project, which is something pretty much simple within the code base, but by doing that, that person will contact like all roles, will contact other devs, will contact QE, will contact CI, test the code base, and where to share that like information about in general about the product. If you are planning to grow, like Confluence can be a good place where when you have a limited amount of people, let's say it will be 2 teams and you won't grow anymore. So you can have like those how-to pages or like knowledge base or whatever. But in our case, when we were hiring like dozens of people, so we switched to, let's say, workshops and we recorded them. And people are able to roll into the system where they have access to all those recordings, and it helps a lot. Where like actual devs with experience are doing workshops on how particular feature works, right? So we were doing the same actually for support engineers, and that works well greatly. So when support didn't know how to debug things, right? And they were reaching dev teams from time to time. So then we're like the whole workshop, okay, there is a feature in Bamboo with like remote agents and it works like that. You can find the configuration here, error logs look like that. This exception may happen because of that. And then you're like, no, it's 45 minutes, but then it removes a whole bunch of issues for new people. Yeah, so I would say like that.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Okay, I think we have one more. You said this approach is challenging for outsourced company. Don't you think it's still possible to implement this approach? And if yes, would it be beneficial? That's a good question. Yes, it may be challenging, but it works in one company, and this company is called SoftServe. There are teams actually which working with Atlassian, and we're trying to keep that model there. So far, it's successful. Not many teams are cooperating with us so far, but yes, it's possible. It's possible. It's, as I said, you need to have a buy-in from management, right, and from devs. So that cultural aspect. And if it will work, yes, it's beneficial. How to introduce that? Usually, I would recommend to do an experiment, right? So go to your PM, gather PM team lead, say that there is this practice. It should be much better for us. Let's try it for 1 month. Let's try it for 2 months or for nearest release, depends on how time flies in your project. And then just like, give them an hypothesis, then do an experiment and then measure the outcomes. It's a very interesting question because before Atlassian, I was working in an outsourcing company actually, and we had a fixed price project. If you know what is it, like, I'm sorry, sorry for you, because you have very strict limitations, right? And we naturally came to that model because we had so much rework after development cycle finished, and we had so tight schedule. So we naturally came to that QE plus dev pairing, and it saves us, right, to fit in time. So I would say it is beneficial. Okay, I think there are no more questions on chat.
While you guys are thinking about the question, I would like to take this post to announce the next session. So like actually tomorrow we would have the session only for SoftServe for 4 p.m. Ukrainian time. And it would be then overview of internal expert services in quality management by Oleg Prieto. But for our guests, we would have the next session for 25th of November at 10 a.m. Of Ukraine time. And the topic would be the only QC engineer on the project. What should you do by Vitaly Klinichenko. So we are inviting you to join those sessions. So if there are no any questions, then I believe we could finish. If you would have any additional questions, just let us know, or like I believe Alexander, we could contact you, right?
Yeah, I will try to come up with a list of, let's say, tools, like maybe some technical tools we using to shift that quality a bit to the left. I already have you in mind, so I maybe follow it to you, Pablo, and you will share it with the crew.
Sure. Thank you very much for such awesome presentation, and stay safe,
thank you.
guys.
Yeah, take care. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.